All right, so this is the Aussie report for January 26, 2025, the second one from Australia. And we're going to start, as always, with Plex and Plex adjacent items. Let's move over to our dashboard here. And the interesting thing is, yes, we have a 4% increase on the Plex price. Again, we're up to 6.4 million in sell price in the forge for Plex. That is very, very high. And that is caused by a sale in the New Eden store that happens every quarter, and that's the 50% discount on Omega plus MCT bundles. That is very predictable, but it is very, very lucrative as well. If you run a skill farm, or even just if you want to, train your other characters on the same account, then this is the sale you want to focus on. This sale alone makes skill farming profitable, so that's huge, right? Skill farming right now has a negative 1 billion per account if you're subscribing with the 12-month Plex option, but if you're using the sale, it's actually a few hundred million in the positive. So this is what people are doing, and this is why so many people, especially the ones that are running skill farms, are buying this sale in the New Eden store with Plex, and that's why we have a, again, very, very high 6.4 million, 4% up. In the same token, we have skill injectors going down 1.5%, and that is because these skill farms that want to buy the sale in the New Eden store, they need cash. They need ISK to buy the Plex to take advantage of this. A skill farm in itself is not always liquid, and so the product that they have is skill injectors, and that's what they're putting on the market. And that's why correspondingly you're seeing a drop in skill injector prices that is probably going to go on as long as the sale is going on. So have a look out at that. Skill injectors still trading 5% below yearly average, so it still might be a good investment, even though skill injector prices have been rising over the past few weeks. And that means for skill farms, actually, this was a opportune timing to cash out of skill injectors, buy into Plex, and recharge those farms. If you are on our Discord, you can actually see a screenshot of Golden CEO, our resident skill farmer, holding over 500,000 in Plex, worth about 3.2 trillion. The other thing that we need to talk about is moon materials. Okay, so if we go up here, this is massive. Okay, overall we have an 8% drop in moon materials. So 8% is something that even pre Metanox would have been almost unthinkable. If you're looking at our 4 moon materials here, 14% down, our 8 materials 6% down, the others 6 to 7% down. This is absolutely massive. Okay, and in a way, this is a result of Metanox really being completely accepted into the game. It is more than 50% of moon materials are now generated by Metanox moon drills. We're seeing our 4 moon materials here, they're almost 40% under 52-week average. We're seeing our 8 moon materials 35% under. We're even seeing our 16 moon materials here 15% under. So on the lower end, moon materials, they're cheap, and they're getting even cheaper. Even on the higher end, we see prices coming down, but not as much on the R32 and R64 side, which both are trading above 52-week average. So while they're dropping this week, they are trading above. And that is single-handedly the reason why you haven't seen T2 ship prices and T2 module prices coming down, right? A lot of those ships, the reasons why they are still expensive, even though on a whole moon materials are down, is because they rely heavily on stuff like dysprosium that is more expensive than it was before Metanox. So essentially, you just have people overall actively mining much less, but a lot of people relying on Metanox moon drills to mine the moon material passively, which has the effect of both mineral prices spiking because you don't have that byproduct anymore, and lower value moon materials dropping in price sharply, and more expensive or more complex higher value moon materials getting more expensive. So absolutely, as Ultra Phoenix says in chat, it's the first Goon moon cycle in their new location. So absolutely crashing here in on the moon material end. Big discovery. I mean, or big a big development. The effect that this is going to have overall is not bad for the player base, right? For the player base, so one, yes, manually mining low quality moon materials has become much less profitable. You should be manually mining the high ones, but with mineral prices being as high as they are, actually this change in moon material prices is actually quite welcome, because it balances out the overall price level in EVE Online, and it curbs inflation a little bit, because the moon materials do have a lot of impact on T2 prices. So we have, if you look at the moon materials, and specifically we have titanium, silicates, and tungsten. They're the ones mostly impacted by this. Those three have lost 50% of their price compared to pre-Metanox pricing, and that's quite huge. If we're looking at basic minerals, so basic minerals, they also dropped 2% in price. They're coming from a very high base, so you can see that on here. This is the number I'm talking about. Basic minerals are overall trading 36% over 52-week average still. And that's even though Isogen has dropped considerably. We're still have the same mineral bottlenecks that we were seeing before with things like Zydrine, for example. But this week we did see a drop of Zydrine, 9%. We saw Mexilon down 7%. So at least what we're seeing is people dumping stockpiles onto the market, people taking advantage of the high mineral prices to go out and mine. But overall, the situation is still dire. So we still have a very much a shortage in a bunch of these minerals, and that's why going into CSM Summit Week, this is going to be, I feel like, one of the big discussion points, right? Even though it's balanced out. If we're looking at specific items on here, if we're looking at trending up, we see Dead Space modules here. So I encourage you to go down that rabbit hole, because I did that yesterday, to find out why the Corpus X-Type Thermal Armor Hardener and the Pith X-Type EM Shield Hardener are 30% up. I think this is just one guy has lost 10 of these in a very weird fashion for 100 trillion plus in kill mails on Gnosis and Praxis. So, noob ships basically to his own corp, something very, very strange going on. And I feel like somebody went out, bought a whole bunch of those markets, those modules, fit them on a ship. 100 billion. If I said trillion, chat is alerting me to it. It's 100 billion. It's something weird going on. I haven't been able to investigate it more, but it's very strange. Some 10 billion Gnosis and Praxis fits being lost to their own corp there. Go to Zekiel and investigate for yourself. So that's what's going on here. It's nothing special, really. On the trending downside, we have the heavy entropic disintegrator. That's just nothing to write home about. It's down 30% after it was up 30% last week. This is just the ebb and flow. With most of these modules, you can typically ignore these vast swings from week to week, because a lot of these markets just aren't deep enough to absorb fleets being fitted, or even individuals just buying large amounts of modules to fit 2 ships. If you're a trader or if you're an industrialist, this means that you can actually make a lot of money on a lot of these modules, because what you can do uh, buy and hold them, or post some of the more popular modules that are spiky in nature. You can post them in JITA at much higher levels, waiting for somebody to buy out um, larger amounts of them. You don't always have to post your modules at the current sell price. If you're a producer or if you're a trader, you're probably already doing this, but you should post them at higher prices, because a lot of these in-demand modules, whether it be dead space modules or tier 2 modules, they get bought out quite frequently, and they are spiky. As you can see here, half of the items on here are often modules. The rest of this is really things going down in price that were high last week, like the Coveter was last week. This is just, people coming in, buying larger amounts of ships, and then the supply levels being replenished. Nothing big to write home about. We do have Ferrogel on here, down 18%. This is the knock-on effect of moon material prices. As moon material prices drop, you will see reaction materials, so the advanced moon materials dropping in price. That's just an input material for reactions. That's going to lead eventually to cheaper ships if R32 and R64 prices come into balance again, which hopefully they will. If we're looking at highest trade volume, obviously, so we were seeing a lot of Coveter and Retriever trading in the last weeks. Now we are seeing ore ice harvesters being traded a lot. I'm sure that's also still in effect, possibly from the winter event, but clearly, clearly people are outfitting their barges and ice miners to go and mine, which is great. On the other hand, I'm sure the ore ice harvester market also isn't as deep as as other modules, being a fairly rare item. Again, we have tungsten, evaporite deposits, and platinum, 3 moon materials on the very high volume end. They're all trading, more than 50% over 52-week average in terms of trade volume. Other than that, you have the Redeemer battleship, the Anshar, the Rear, which are freighters, being in high demand. Overall, a very mixed thing here. The Scorpion Navy issue is just a ship that's just very popular overall right now. 80% over volume is something we would expect there. Talking about things that are in very short supply, on number 2 we already see Plex. So 0.2 Plex trade days available. It's even worse than last week. This has to do with the sale that I was mentioning earlier. There just isn't any Plex on the market. Very spiky. It's definitely an issue, but nothing new. I don't think we've gone over a trade day in a long time here. So definitely also possible to speculate on Plex pricing right now. Just as a side note, I mentioned earlier that this 50% off Omega and MCT deal is happening every quarter, and this time we saw about a 5% jump on Plex pricing. If there is something that happens every quarter and there's a 5% price change on the item that makes up about a third of the total ISK trade volume in EVE Online, then if you have capital lying around, there's no reason whatsoever to not speculate around this. And that's why you have people on our server, on our Discord server, talking about the sale so much. There's people predicting when it's going to happen. It's a huge game, because this just one sale that is happening is so impactful on so many sides. One, because people need to take advantage of it if they want to get their skill farms going, but also 2, because a lot of traders are speculating on its outcome. And so even though it's predictable, 5% on Plex is just a massive impact. Largest drop in supply, we're seeing implants here. Mid-grade Amulet, Omega's basically bought out the market. Mid-grade Virtue, Epsilon bought out of the market. Pretty crazy. I don't know if that is actually fleet doctrine related, possibly, but the entire Amulet Omega market being bought out and virtually the entire Virtue market being bought out is pretty big. Also, mid-grade Nirvana is apparently also 90% of the market bought out this week. Pretty crazy. The 25,000 millimeter steel plates too. This is the dread action that we're seeing. A lot of the dread modules being very spiky in the last weeks because we had several battles. The last one happening here a couple hours ago with a massive dread ball happening in EVE Online, which is great to see, but also very, very spiky. So I think dread modules are some of the items that have been the most spiky and most lucrative for traders. So if you're looking to get into something, maybe look at what are those huge dread fights, what are those kill mails saying, are people flying, what are the most used modules, and you can find something in your price category to invest in and speculate on this, because 80% of the module being bought out in JITA, the price spiking 30, 40, 50%, those are all massive changes that you can take advantage of as a trader. Interesting here also, 70% of the Lokis bought out compared to last week, and JITA is also very big. Finishing up with the most underpriced category, and that is dominated by Moon materials, right? If you're looking at what is trading lower than compared to 52-week average, this, silicates, 50% titanium, 55% of yearly average, hydrocarbons 60% of yearly average. So R4 and R8 Moon materials are all underpriced. In theory, obviously in praxis, we have to look at the new reality, and the new reality is Metanox Moon drilling. And if you have it implemented the way it is right now, then these aren't going to recover anytime soon, and until we see nerfs again, because we saw, since the introduction, we already saw CCP nerfing Metanox Moon drills several times, and still it's being accepted basically completely in nullsec and other parts of space, and so we're just seeing a flood of cheap R4, R8 Moon materials entering the market, and R16, to be fair. Okay, then let me finish. Dr. Anders here in chat says, yeah, the massive dread bomb probably probably caused the amulet buyout, which is a very good point as well. So this is the market impact that some of these big dread bombs have, which is fantastic for everyone involved. People are having fun, people destroying ships, industrials building ships, and traders speculating on the outcome. Couldn't be better. Having said that, if you're watching this on VOD or on the podcast, we interviewed CCP Swift and some of the CSM members about the upcoming CSM summit in the first hour of the stream. So make sure you go check that out on the podcast stream and on YouTube. And we'll catch up with you guys again next week on the podcast and on YouTube for the Oz Report. We're going to return to the regular stream. Bye-bye.